Tampa 33602, which I think is not actually a great place to live. Forgive me for the things I'm going to say today. So that's the way I can make money, really, if I were to look at any marketplace. Now, those of you that are investors, those of you looking to sell soon, take a great look at this, because this is a hierarchy of the areas and the score for most likely to find a value. Hey everybody, today we're going to deep dive into Tampa's marketplace. If you're looking to buy here, you are going to know the top 3 or 4 areas of this particular marketplace in which presents itself the option to get a good deal. Maybe sellers are highly motivated. We're also going to shed some light on those of you that may own here. Maybe you have a second home here. You're going to know exactly the market trends as they're shaping up right now, heading into the fall, as we have headwinds. I mean, this is a darling city for the state of Florida in terms of the real estate public, the people that watch it, the pundits. They have long called this one of the best places to own in the state of Florida. It is a beautiful area, very diverse. It's surrounded by water, and it is a great location. Beautiful beaches. No denying that there is so much to love about Tampa. But today we're going to dive into exactly how the real estate market is doing here. And as we strive to be the #1 Florida, pulling out all the data throughout the cities of Florida, if that's the content you kind of enjoy and like to watch, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't mind, leave me a like and a comment at the end of this video. It's totally free and a big way to say thanks to the channel. Let's dive into the data. Right now, I'm going to take you through a quick jump through some of the top charts I love to watch provided by Reventure Consulting. This is a buy versus rent calculator. So obviously you can see in the marketplace, it is more expensive to buy than it is to rent. And obviously, historically, we want the rental line to be below the purchase line. And when that happens, people are obviously trying to get out of rental into a purchase. Right now, it's cheaper. You're saving money. However, the deficit is not large as a result of this graph. It shows right now it's 11% cheaper to rent. So that is close. I mean, when people are really debating a $200 difference or $300 difference, and I would tell you too, this is data that comes from taking typical rent versus the amount of money that people make versus cost of mortgage. So the mortgages in these areas were ran back in July. So the most recent update I have is about a couple months old. I will tell you that the buy graph is higher now. So for this data, we're updated already. The data on the buying side, due to the mortgage rates being 8%, is going to be higher. So the spread is getting worse in real time. However, if home prices soften in Tampa, then it will get a little closer. Now, this is a very interesting graph. This is a home buyer score by zip code. Now, those of you that are investors, those of you looking to sell soon, take a snapshot, pause the video, and take a great look at this, because this is a hierarchy of the areas and the score for most likely to find a value, okay? Now, how do you get put on this list? There's a factor for how many days on market, how much inventory, and how many price cuts each of these zip codes are experiencing, and there's a score assigned. So you can see some of the ones at the top of the list, like Tampa 33602, which I think is not actually a great place to live. Forgive me for the things I'm going to say today. But you go down the list and there's the top. Now, what are the strongest, most hottest? You see them down here. Zephyr Hills, Plant City make up a bunch of these. There's a couple Tampa zip codes, 33609 again, which is not far from the one that was at the top of the list. There's obviously a blend of the areas. Now, this all again gives you an idea. I will tell you most of these are probably going to be in more affluent areas, and some of these are going to be in lower appeal areas near poverty or near rough areas, or just they're oversaturated with new construction. But again, I'm moving fast through this. Please pause and take a deeper dive. Price to earnings rate. This is a very fascinating graph because this holds an average of what people make versus what they historically are willing to pay with those earnings for a house. Obviously, right now, the amount of money that people earn is not keeping pace with price. And so it is a multiple of 7.3 in Tampa right now when the average is 4.6. The cause and effect theory, Newton's third law I love to talk about, says, hey, if it goes way down, it's going to come back the other direction. It's a swing. It's a continuum around this particular average. But the reality is right now it's 34.2% over the theory of where it should be, the equilibrium of the market, if you will, going all the way back to 2007. So a good bit of data there to show you exactly what's going on. Let me give you a quick contrast. Orlando is a little lower than this. Orlando's PE decline is around 30%. So Tampa is a good bit over the mark. And I think it's probably one of the leaders for Florida for being well at the top of the graph here. All right, let me take you through some things to give you an idea of hot and cold areas of your marketplace. Now, the first graph I want to show you is home value change year over year. These areas right here in blue, the out of town areas, obviously are softening in prices quite a bit. So Ruskin, 33579, all these outer areas, again, not doing great. The inner areas are still holding and hot. I will tell you, some of these areas are cheaper housing, okay? Some of them have a lower average price point. Look at the coastal areas. They're obviously soft. So this is something I highlighted in my 5 oceanfront areas in Florida likely to suffer price change. I did this several months ago. And would you imagine? This is a stretch of coastline that I pointed out, which I will tell you, if you go all around the coast of Florida, these will probably be some of the worst performers right now. This doesn't mean you need to jump out the window if you own here in 33706. But look at it. 33706 St. Pete Beach zip is down 5.3% year over year. So there is a good bit of softening. These areas that are expensive tend to carry more inventory per capita, per amount of residences. They're expensive houses, they're expensive properties, expensive condos. You got $1 million average price last year. It dropped to $995. These are highly urban areas of Tampa, densely populous. A lot of them are not big numbers. These are going to be average price. Look at that, $285. Look at this one, is this year. Okay, so these are still hot, but they're only hot because people just get over the bar. But when you factor the fact that these are areas that are well beneath the average price of all Tampa real estate, which is around $395, something like that, these are not the most appealing places to live, and these are still thriving purely because the bottom end of the price range can still get there. And that's not exclusive. You know, you will find a zip code here and there that's the opposite. It's doing well, it's high appeal, and it's going over the mark as a result. Let's flip to this. This is called the overvalued. Don't read into this too much. Overvalued is just a running trend of how these areas are performing against history, okay? So when you see red, these are the ones that are running ridiculously hot, okay? Red means caution, and blue means there's a little bit of an element of safety against history, that they're not running so ridiculously bizarre in terms of its numbers, okay? So I won't stay long on that, but take a snapshot if that's something that you really want to see, how you're performing. But take a snapshot of that to give you something to think about depending on moving into these areas or considering your own sale. Next graph I like to look at, this is the actual percentages of loss against the last market downturn, okay? So this is simply how much prices changed from 2007 to 2012. So I'm hovering over 33634. In 2007, home prices here were nearly 200 grand. They had dipped to $91,000 in a 5-year span. So they lost 53% of its value. You can see, right? A lot of times people want to see what happened in the past to give an idea of where those particular areas might perform in the future, okay? Now, the ones in red lost well beneath the average. So if you see a red, these areas well performed because they probably did not experience so much volatility during market changes. Next chart I'm going to look at is for sale inventory year over year. Which areas are starting? So anything in red shows growing inventory. So like look here at 33602, which by the way was one of the ones on the buy chart. I think it was towards the top. This is grown. So it's 46% up over last year. Inventory is climbing. Keep in mind, look at this. It was 90 last year and it's 132 now. If you were to look at this in 2022, when it said 90, it was probably way up over the year before that. So this zip code, and I don't have the data, but I bet you in 2021, it was probably around 45 or 50. And so it went from 45 or 50 to 90, and now it's at 132. So it's on a slide uphill with more homes hitting the market there. But you got to understand, folks, by and large, there's nothing crazy on this graph, okay? So there's nothing indicating that there is a massive heap of inventory landing. I'm just going to shoot you straight. None of this is alarming. Last year, we saw 100%, 150, 200% in some of these areas growth. Look at this. This is a coastal area. It's not crazy unhealthy yet. I mean, you're not seeing, I already know what the price charts look like in these because I've been watching them, but this grew by it's 106 units last year. This one is the highest, I think, on the chart. It's up 100% on the coastal areas. This one's up 70%. This one's up 48%. So you see these areas are going up to 40, 50 to 100%, and the price is going in the opposite direction. Same view year over year. This is how long it's taking to sell. So if you start to see red areas, those areas are characterized by it taking a longer span of time for sellers to get out of the market. That tends to create a tendency for price cuts. We're going to see that here in a second. So all these areas are going to be, characterized by higher price cutting if there start to become a tension of, hey, you know what? It's taking too long to sell my house. Hey, I feel more inventory coming on the market. It was 100 last year. Now it's 200. There's a sensation like, a lot of you post about this in the comments all the time. You talk about the reality of herd mentality, the fact that people do things in groups, that once it becomes societally acceptable, everybody then does it. Not that they shouldn't have started doing it sooner, but they all execute the plan in the same terms, in same time. So that's that. Price cuts is interesting. Now, anything above 25 to 30% range, and I would say 26, 27% or above, is you're starting to get close to 1 out of 3 homes in a given area of Tampa is starting to cut price. 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3. That's a bigger number, okay? So these particular areas where you start to see 53% price cut, that means majority of people there are reducing price in order to get out of their house. 48% is a big number, 44%. These are big numbers in red, folks. These are areas that if you are investing in or looking to buy for yourself, you want to come in and really work on the price because it's probably wrong, as it's shown right here. There's a lot of price testing in these red areas. Okay, so that means that there's a sense that there's a schizophrenia. I don't know what the price should be, so let's make a deal. Okay, some of these tend to get really skewed by low number of listing volume. So if you have like 10 listings in a given zip code, which isn't typical, it's more out here in the outskirts. You know, you could have 3 of those 10 drop their price and it looks like a big deal. But these more populous areas, when you start to see them turning and there's 40, 50, these are big numbers, folks. These are big reductions, which is odd because you just saw there's no inventory. There's not a huge glut in most of these areas. Why can't they sell the homes? And that, again, is something I keep rattling on about in the new economy, is that there's a market can shift and prices can go bad without a lot of homes for sale. So everybody's expecting that downturn can't happen because unlike '08, there's not mass foreclosures. Well, you don't need mass foreclosures when there's very few buyers. So don't forget that. So look, this, and it's being proven obviously on this map. Poverty rates. This is a future indicator of where danger is, okay? So I like to look at this so you can get an idea of where the trouble spots potentially are. Now, I will tell you the average poverty across the state of Florida is around 11.8%. The average in Tampa is a little lower. I think it's on 11.6. So when you start to see areas like this where a third of all people are in poverty, 29%, 27%, 18%, anything well above, you start getting 15, 16% or above, those are areas. Listen, for my investors out there, when I'm looking to find deals, I'm going to look for a mix of higher price cuts on the graph I showed. You go back there and look at it and pause it. And I'm also going to look for the areas where the poverty is there. Now, don't take this as like Jared is a poacher. He's poaching the impoverished. No, this just means that income levels across an average are going to be a little lower. That means there's going to be more people there that when times are getting hard, the house can get away from them and they need help. And that's what investors do. I'm not trying to paint this a different way. If you have a house that's absolutely destroyed, you're not going to call a realtor and say, hey, please put my destroyed house with pet feces on the floor and clutter everywhere. Put that on the open market and sell it for me. You're not going to walk buyers through that environment. This is not going to happen. It's not good for the customer. Like, how shameful to try and bring a house like that and advertise it. The reality is those are going to be where investor roles are going to step in and they're going to say, hey, look, I can buy it for you, but I need a profit. Okay, win-win. Let's not take everybody out of play here. But I'm telling you, these areas where the market doesn't see a lot of, the South is softening and prices are going, and there's still an elevated area of poverty is a problem. The blue areas are going to be very strong for the long term, even in a market downturn. Okay, just the way it is. One last chart I want to look at, we're going to end this video, mortgaged homes. So against the poverty look, where are the areas with high percentages of mortgages? Okay, something you want to look at. So along with poverty, this particular graph is showing you which areas are highly densely borrowed against. Those are obviously at risk, okay? People fall in hard times if they're particularly in poverty zones where their income is not massively high. They're not able to hold on at times. So this is one you're watching, 70%, 62, I'd say even 60% plus becomes a watch for me. It goes on a watch list. It's going on, hey, I'm concerned, okay? This is an area where there might be, and I'm saying not concerned, I'm looking for motivated owners. A lot of times as an investor, that's what I'm looking to do. So I actually could take this same view in any marketplace in the country and figure out where the opportunities lie. Where should the offers that are a little bit more aggressive get written, on houses that need help. So that's the way I can make money, really, if I were to look at any marketplace. And that's something that I would provide. If you folks, obviously there's a calendar link in the video. If you want me to help you guidance and do a consult in a given area, we can do that. One-off thing, consult, move on, you go to work and actually find homeowners to help. That's it for today, folks. I appreciate you. If you've watched to this point and you still haven't smashed the like button, you haven't subscribed to the channel, because the channel is the top market research channel out there showing you what's going on in every market of the US. By the way, drop in the comments below where you want the next video to cover. I will watch. Many of you have asked for Tampa. That's why we're doing Tampa today. But please continue the commentary below. If you're from Tampa, what are you seeing? If you're from these zip codes, what do you notice? Love to hear from you, and I will interface with you guys down below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.